Hey, we're live, pal. Sorry for missing the last 2 weeks. We were missing in action the last 2 weeks. Andrew, I think it was Halloween, and then I had some work stuff last week, but we're back right in time for AEW Full Gear. We'll preview that show today.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to be back. Been a hectic day here. First of all, you feeling the tracksuit or what? I'm gonna show you guys. Look at this thing. This is my new thing.
Yeah, sweet.
I'm just wearing
really
tracksuits all winter. I'm just gonna wear tracksuits all winter. No, man, it looks like a great pay-per-view. I'm excited to talk to you about it. It's been a hectic couple of weeks. I know for both of us. You know
craziness.
Halloween duties and how it works.
Yes, exactly. So we missing in action the last couple of weeks, which means there's some stuff that happened that I didn't get a chance to ask you about. NXT to CW. What'd you think about that?
Yeah, I'm. It's an interesting move. CW, obviously, it's over the air. It's a network. They're in 98% of homes. They have a free app that anybody can watch on. It's a very interesting move. Now, I'm more curious on what does this do to numbers, right? Is this now a 1 million plus show per week? Is that a guarantee with this show? I don't know. I don't know what CW means in the long scheme of things. Network television, the power of network is not what it was previously. We know that if you were on a network like NBC or CBS, you were guaranteed to have monster numbers. Even the worst shows did well. Do you know what I was watching? The X-Files, right? I was a big X-Files fan. I watched this whole thing about the show and the creation and why it got canceled. Do you know they were a failure in 2001 with 11 million viewers? That was considered a total failure for over-the-air programming. Now it's very different. SmackDown is a successful show with 3 million, 2.5 million. I mean, they could have done better. Obviously, Fox would have renewed them if they were sitting in the 4s and 5s, but it still shows you how television and media consumption has changed. So I don't know what kind of guarantee to numbers this would bring, but it's very interesting to me. What do you make of it?
Okay, so strategically, what I think the play could be is that if they didn't get the sweeter deal that they may have wanted, the option of going back to broadcast may have been attractive. Now, I can't say that this is a long-term strategy for WWE. They want to get back to broadcast, but because their main two shows are going to be on cable. One of them is going to be on USA. And I guess the rumors of late were FX for Raw. I don't know exactly what that means or why FX versus, somewhere else. But if you couldn't get a cable deal, moving to broadcast, I think is fine. But I will tell you, I looked at the averages for CW versus USA. The USA Network still has more average viewers per show than CW is. And CW is not in that many more homes, I don't think. There's some weird calculation where, like you said, they're supposed to be in like 98% of all homes. But I've talked to some folks and they're like, yeah, I don't even get it. I don't even know where to find it. So I don't know if those numbers are 100% accurate, but the idea to go to broadcast is a fine one. But what I wonder, here's what I really wonder, is if they wanted Raw, if they wanted to find a home for Raw on broadcast and they couldn't find one, and thus, at least with NXT, they will have one, they won't lose their broadcast place for the show, because right now SmackDown is that place. So I don't know if your hypothesis will be correct, though. Will they do more viewers? I'm not sure. I don't like they're
by
leaning
default, right? By default, if you just look at it on paper, yeah, it should. But like I said, I by the way, they are going to have a network partner. They will have NBC specials. That is guaranteed, right? They said that with the new deal that they're going to have that. I don't know, probably like a Saturday night's main event. I don't think it's Saturday night's main event, but when I asked about that, they said they are very into the idea of doing pay-per-view level shows on the network. Now, on network television. So it would obviously have to be NBC because that's their network partner now through USA for SmackDown. But that I don't know what that means. You could have said some Saturday night's main events were pay-per-view level, shows, but right now that's all on paper. We have no idea. The other thing that's interesting is where the hell is Raw going to go?
Well, do you believe in the FX rumor?
Who'd it come from, Dave?
That I've heard that from Dave. I've heard that from other places as well. But
Yeah.
that seems to be
I
the leader in the rumor clubhouse right now.
Yeah, I don't know what they'll do on FX.
You know what
I don't know
FX
what
is?
they'll do because FX killed their network. Remember, they
They're
really
a
hurt the
Disney.
network.
They're a Disney property now, though.
Yeah, they are a Disney property, and they also made a huge mistake a couple years ago where they took their key programming, like Always Sunny, right? Always Sunny in Philadelphia was a huge. I mean, it really was the ratings draw for them, and they moved it to FXX or whatever that secondary FX network was, or FX. I don't remember. They made some mistakes with that channel. I know that they've been trying to get some sort of positioning. I don't know what the positioning is. As far as shows that I know on FX is What We Do in the Shadows, which I believe is ending this year, and Always Sunny, which is done. They're finished with that show. There really isn't too much more on there.
What about the Bear? Isn't the Bear on FX?
The Bear is on there, yeah, and that's a juggernaut, right?
Yeah. I think the thing that's interesting about FX is how closely they are aligned with the Hulu app. I think they're actually like a Hulu. I don't know if you would consider them more Hulu than FX or whatever, but it seems like if I'm on Hulu, they're highlighting FX content like almost exclusively as if like it's a Hulu brand or something. So that could be beneficial if you are if you are like me, you like to watch that Hulu cut of Raw. Like I love that version of Raw, and maybe they make that a little bit more front and center with if they do move to FX. But I just want to say this is not a done deal by any means. It's just the latest rumors. I've just seen it in a few different places, but the other places that we always talk about are out there as well for possibilities. But I just think being under the Disney umbrella is kind of interesting for WWE. Like, who would have thunk it, 10 years ago that they would be on a Disney affiliated network, possibly.
Yeah. And the other thing is, if you're on FX, there's a connection with ABC, right? Because it's Disney. So do you get some sort of Raw specials on ABC? SmackDown goes to NBC and Raw goes to ABC. There's so many questions here. I have asked everybody, and it just shows that nothing is set in stone right now because nobody's able to give me a direct answer, especially at USA, which I have friends there that know what's happening. I will tell you, there were many people that were blindsided by the NXT going to CW story. I don't think a lot of people expected that to happen because of obviously NWA was saturating that CW conversation, but there's a lot of moving parts here, and they seem like they have split their assets where they're going more like the NFL model, where you have multiple content partners, multiple channels that you're airing your product on.
Yep.
I don't know if that's a positive or a negative for WWE. One umbrella seems to make a lot of sense, but if you can capitalize on more money, and now you're partnered with Disney and ABC, and you're partnered with NBC and USA, and now you also have that CW, connection. It's interesting.
I think it's probably best to have all of your properties separated, because when it comes down to it, for the next time that their rights are up, and who even knows what television is going to look like the next time their rights are up, they're all going to be up right around the same time. And you can either go back to one network or you just have the option of competing. More competitors for your content, I think, is always a good idea. Here's the question.
The other thing I want to lay out here, right, with the FX story, and this plays a very, again, speculating, right? This is all speculation.
Yes.
I'm not reporting anything, right? FX, their slogan was "When Fox Goes Wrong," right? And it's very adult based. All their shows are very adult. Between Fargo, Archer, Always Sunny in Philadelphia, What We Do in the Shadows, The Bear. It is a very adult based product. American Horror Story, which is a huge part for them. What does this mean as far as, do you get to push the envelope a little bit more with Raw and make it and kind of define what the brand is? We had heard about the TV-14 story last summer. That was something that was very much a serious conversation. It just, people jumped the gun and somebody got upset and said, hell with this. But do they attempt to kind of fit in the culture of that channel? Because even though it's Disney, a lot of people are assuming like, oh, they're going to be very tame. But no, FX is a very adult network.
Mm-hmm.
Do you change the product a little bit to cater to that?
Or yeah, that's actually an interesting idea. I wonder what their demographics are as far as the age of people who watch, because it's more edgy. Is it a younger audience? And maybe that's attractive to WWE if it is.
Yeah, I that's a great question.
Okay, so the other piece of this, and here's the interesting thing about moving networks to me. NXT closely aligned with Monday Night Raw because it's the next day. It's on the same network. You can promote it on Raw. Go, NXT tomorrow, Becky Lynch from this show is going to go on that show. And I wonder what the synergy is going to be able to be like. If Raw is on FX, are they going to be able to promote as hard on the CW? Make sure you turn it to the CW. And, if you're on FX, you're like, no, Tuesday at 8, we have this show. Why do we want them to go to the CW? And also, are there going to be as many main roster stars to build up the rating and the audience over there? Or is WWE just like, well, wash my hands in this, we got our deal, and we'll go back to no main brand stars because we don't need them until the rights come up again in 5 years. We don't need those ratings to be that high.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. This is the stuff that I love, right? I love wrestling. Yep. Obviously, we can talk about the wrestling we're going to, but this is so interesting to me because this is all money driven. And we have to remember that WWE is part of Endeavor. Endeavor's not in the wrestling business. They're in the money-making business.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really care about the nuances that we argue over professional wrestling. They want to see what can we do to make the most money and have the most growth for the product that we're putting out there. So these are the first moves, if you're going to be able to split all your assets into different partners and, capitalize on that, great. I will say, I think it's a mistake to go streaming right now exclusively for them. We spoke about this. I mean, listen, you're in the tech world. So was I for many, many years. John too, our producer in the tech world for many, many years. Streaming is still not there for live sports as far as ad revenue that you could generate. And you are going to lose your audience. You're going to lose a significant audience. A lot of people think you go streaming, you go free online and see what happens. Listen, man, the AEW did that with their show. They put that pre-show on.
The YouTube.
It was the YouTube show. They did a mega, it was supposed to be a mega match, Minoru Suzuki and Bryan Danielson. And they were able to get about 100,000 concurrent viewers. It wasn't this juggernaut of gauging what their value is. It doesn't translate evenly. So I think these are all this is a fascinating time.
Okay, now we'll end with this, which is I think Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics, he put out a piece, and I think his thought is that the new show or the new deal that they have with the CW maybe bump them from, let's say, 15 to 25 million a year. I saw the NXT rating last week. Now, not nearly the competition that AEW had. They almost did the same rating, though, that AEW did. So if NXT is getting 25 million a year, what does that say for AEW's upcoming situation? I don't think it bodes very well for them.
Is it an equal translation, And that's the question. And how much more value do you have for the network that you're on versus the other guys? How much ad revenue can you generate with AEW versus NXT? These are, I don't know. I don't know what NXT's getting. I did hear the 20 to 25 million number. But I don't think it's AEW's in danger. 25 million seems low for AEW.
Well, what are they making right now, do you think?
I would say more than that. I thought
Like
I don't have an exact
50
number.
or
We've
something?
never 40 maybe. I don't know. That's something that I've had very tremendous difficulty getting or finding out. I think that people have assumed it was like 45 million, right, to get.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we were talking about $1 billion over 5 years, right? We were talking about a couple months ago. That was a conversation that we were having. That AEW may get $1 billion over a 5-year program. But if we were to do an equal comparison, right? What is Raw getting currently?
200 million a year?
200 million a year. Okay. Is 400,000 more viewers worth it, or 500,000 more viewers worth a bump like that? I think it really has to do with how is your sales department going to be able to sell the ad versus what your actual viewership is.
Mm-hmm.
When you're comparing like this, like I don't know how they're gauging 100,000 viewers or 1 million viewers versus 800,000 or 700,000 viewers. I think it's more about the branding synergy with your network more than anything else.
Yeah. Well, once that Raw deal gets signed, we'll have even more information about it, and then I'm sure we'll be able to kind of put it all together and see what it means. But I will say, I expected NXT to be combined with Raw to kind of have the same synergy that they do today. So that is a difference. That is something that I didn't expect, but the CW also I don't think was on anybody's radar, at least until recently. So
it was on Billy's
all right.
radar.
Yeah, except for Billy. Billy was the only one. Billy was like, "Hey guys, there's this network called the CW that they may even show our stuff." And WWE is like, "Oh, I'm gonna look into this." No, I don't know.
Yeah,
if
it's like the TNN days. It's like ECW and TNN.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about. Actually, I wanted to ask you what you thought about Collision and Rampage. If you saw either of those shows this week.
I saw Collision.
Okay, what'd you think?
I didn't love it. I thought the opener was really good. The Daniel Garcia and MJF match was really good. I thought it was cool to have Sting and Edge or Adam Copeland in the main event, but it was really a just filler show to me. They had a couple moments, like I thought the Hangman Page stuff was great. That was captivating. And nothing else, really.
Now imagine if that show that you saw on Saturday. Imagine if you were actually in the building for that show and you were like, "Oh, this is what Collision is all about." Because I was actually in the building.
Oh, and what did you think?
I wouldn't say it was dead. It's not a cold product, but whatever they put on television on Saturday was definitely lukewarm for sure.
Yeah,
I didn't really understand now. I think part of the issue with AEW live shows is they don't have the same type of way to sell their shows like WWE. Like if you go to a Raw or SmackDown taping, you may not get Roman every show, right? He's not there all the time.
Yeah.
If you're lucky, John Cena shows up because it's an actor strike and he has some free time on his hands. But you don't go expecting him to be there either. But you know who's there more times than not? Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, the Usos,
Jey Uso.
Those guys, and on the women's side, Bianca, Charlotte, Becky. You're going to get a mix of all of those stars. So when you actually go to these shows, now this has nothing to do with whether or not the actual wrestling or the creative is good. I'm just talking about the actual star power. If you are a WWE fan and you pay to go to a live show, you're more than likely going to see a certain amount of folks who you're probably really interested in. That is not the same with these AEW shows. So they ran the Cow Palace. You'll remember when they ran the Cow Palace earlier this year, and I was very flustered with that show too. But Cow Palace for Dynamite, and then Rampage, and then this time they're back in the Bay Area, and they did the Rampage and Collision taping. I remember I was thinking, I was wondering, I wonder if Mox is going to be on this show. And then I see the little thing from New Japan. Oh no, he's going to be at the Lone Star Shootout show in Texas. I was like, bummer. At least that would have been fun. And I was thinking, oh, maybe Bryan Danielson's going to be on the show. Nope, he's not, except if you saw the interview with him and the eye patch, which they did not play for the live crowd. And so you're really
it was not an eye patch. That was his whole head was covered.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see it because I didn't watch the TV version, so I only heard about this. I thought it was an eye patch. Hangman was not in the building. He did an interview, probably recorded after Dynamite. So the stars that you actually saw: Sting, Edge, Adam Copeland, Darby. Good, solid, right? But those can't be the only stars. I know some people say, well, FTR was on Rampage. That was fine. I don't consider FTR this giant draw in any way. So I feel like, AEW has like their hot shows where they're just trying to throw everything against the wall. That they're really trying. And then they have these shows where I just felt like there's no effort here into put on a live show for an audience to actually want to buy tickets and then come back. Now, they got a pretty darn good walk-up. So people did show up, but I'm kind of cynical about what the walk-up means today, because what it means to me, and I'll tell you exactly what I did to get tickets. So I went with a couple buddies. Both of them listened to this show a lot. Jeremy Feinstone and Miguel Rubio, shout out to both of them. We went to Oakland ahead of time, and we grabbed dinner. Everett and Jones Barbecue, like a historical local Oakland barbecue joint, awesome. And we all had this sort of epiphany at the same time, which was like, we can do other stuff out here rather than go to wrestling. Do we really want to go to the wrestling show? And that is an option when you're in a city. There's other stuff to do. You could go to the movies. You could go, find something else to do. And we decided, we're going to go to the show. But the reason why we even thought about that is because of what was advertised for this show, which was not much, right? There was the Sting and Edge thing. And that was kind of the big draw. I guess Dave said Will Hobbs was out and about in the Bay Area talking about the show. And I didn't see it, so I didn't hear.
And he's from the Bay Area, right?
He's from the Bay Area. And so we were kind of apprehensive in going, but we knew in the back of our minds, we're like, we don't even have to buy tickets until we literally show up at the front door of this arena. And that's what we did. So we waited all day until it was 10 minutes before the show started, and we hit the Ticketmaster, and we're like, okay, now we'll buy these $20 tickets. If fans are smart, I'm sure they did the same thing as we did, which was just wait until the last minute, because the tickets will be at the lowest price humanly possible. And maybe somebody has a great seat that they've been trying to sell and sell and sell, and 10 minutes for the show, they're like, I got to discount this thing. And so I'm sure people are really smart to this game right now. But there's something very lacking about this show where I'm just trying to think, like, if you are new to this product, and we sat behind us were, I would say, non-hardcore wrestling fans, but definitely knew WWE, or at least had watched WWE. And they were, they didn't really know what was going on in AEW. They weren't familiar with the chants, but they were just having a really good time. I was cracking up just listening to them.
So what was it? It was just people going to do something on a Saturday night?
No, I'm sure there hardcore AEW fans there, but I'm just talking about like the actual excitement in the building was lacking. Yeah. There was not, I don't think, outside of the Sting and Edge thing, I'm not sure there was really too much excitement for fans to, where they were popping or where they were doing chants. Like Dave said after the show, after he left, and I probably left one match early, but he said he was walking out and he heard people doing Adam chants, like Roddy Strong. I didn't hear any of that. I didn't really hear much chants in the building at all, as far as like, because I'd go to an NXT show 5 years ago, and I'd be in the urinal, and people are,
Screaming,
using the restroom and trying to get Adam Cole Bebe chants going on. I'm like, come on, dude, not go. Wait till you wash your hands at least. Um, but yeah, like it was just lukewarm is the best way that I could describe that show, and I just don't understand why they put on shows that you would even consider lukewarm. You can't run pay-per-view main events every week. I'm not saying that, but there was just a
yeah,
dearth of star power on that show. I just was looking, I was like, heck, great. Danny Garcia's great. I don't mind seeing him, but he is not going to cause me as someone who watches their television in the way that he's pushed to buy a ticket. So it was really on the backs of like Edge and Sting, and I thought it was a miss. I don't know if
was it a miss of who their opponents were? I mean, did that play a part for you? Because really, like the Righteous, okay, like should they be in a main event with Edge and Sting and Darby when you're trying to build your product?
No, not at all. It was very much a WWF Superstars of Wrestling style main event. It was a glorified squash. And I don't know if the Righteous should be in any matches that don't have a stipulation of the way to win the match is to shove one guy's head up the other guy's ass. Like they should only be in matches like that. And because ever since that happened, that's the only way I'll even think about them. Is just the goofiness of that. So whatever. But I wasn't down on the product. I thought they did an okay house, but everything was just okay. It wasn't disappointing. It wasn't great. It was just there. And that's not the product that you and I have been to pay-per-views to see, right? So it was kind of deflating a little bit in that sense. But, for me, I've been to the very first Double or Nothing in Vegas, which was so much fun and so hot. And you and I went to that historic All Out show, which is maybe the best pay-per-view show I've ever been to live. And yeah, it's not the same product. I don't know if it'll ever get there again, but it was like a night and day kind of thing.
Well, they have to. Sure. They have to get there again. That's the thing.
Can you though? Get there again. Who's going to help them get there?
Listen, I think the like do the Bucks matter as much as they did 2-3 years ago? Does Kenny matter? Does CM Punk, obviously we knew mattered. It worked for them. I know there were a lot of detractors saying that, he didn't really change the numbers, but we're seeing this now. Edge, obviously, Adam Copeland hasn't really impacted their numbers. They're doing sub 400,000, which is nowhere near the number that they should be at, or what.
And this was on a non-pay-per-view week, right? A non-WWE
it was a non-pay-per-view week,
and they did that.
Yeah, I my relationship with people there. I think the 6s they're pleased with when they're in the 600 range, even the 500 range. But now you're under 400,000 viewers. What does that mean, and why? How do you turn that around? Dynamite was not bad. They did over 800,000. I think it was like 806. But you really have to work hard on a Saturday to bring viewers to you, and really your stars were limited, and maybe they're reverting back to what they had initially thought of for that show, where it would be more for building people that aren't on Dynamite. But you have key people. You have Andrade there. He's unbelievable. He's fantastic. I like seeing Andrade there. You have Sting. You have Edge. You have Darby. You had FTR, like you said. You had MJF. You had Daniel Garcia. You had is it the people or is it how you're presenting them?
It feels like an afterthought, which this is the new show. I don't know how the new show can feel like an afterthought if you're trying to build the new show. And maybe their excuse is going to be, well, we got to wait till college football is over, and then our Saturdays will be a little bit more free. But I don't know. I think there's a lot. I think there's a little bit of a normalization going on every time they run a show where people are like, oh, this is actually very skippable. It is going to be harder to bring those people back, because once you create the habit of finding something else to do instead of watching wrestling, that's something that you've prioritized, that becomes your new thing.
Listen, people habits is a key thing here. You're not just competing with college football. I get it. I get that we're thinking, linear when it comes to television, but guess what else you're competing with? If you condition me to realize nothing of importance will happen on your show, and I'm not saying that's what AEW is doing. I'm just giving an example here. You know what I would much rather do? Sit on my phone and look at TikTok videos or watch a stupid YouTube video. You know what I mean? You are competing with everything. Everything. There is a new generation that has not been gauged when it comes to ad dollars or how we're getting these people. Gen Z does not like to sit in front of a TV for 3 hours and watch TV. That's a fact. You are competing with every other way of media. I can listen to a podcast. I can listen to a YouTube video. Everything. You're competing with everything. So once you condition me to like, I could skip this week. It's bad. It's not good. So I don't think they're there yet. I think they're still new and they're trying out different ideas. But you got to give me something of importance to happen for me to be like, okay, this is must-see TV.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a strategy there. I'm sure they are like, hey, we tried this. Now let's try this. Maybe this is the week to throw away because we got a big week of television right before the pay-per-view. They don't actually have Collision on Saturday this week because the pay-per-view's on Saturday. And you know what my fear is that they run angles on Friday and Saturday, and by the time some people get a chance to watch that show, because it's going heads up against SmackDown, the more people are going to watch that show for sure. That you kind of go, oh, I don't even really have time to watch this show before the pay-per-view starts. So I would run all of my angles on Dynamite and just have follow-ups and video packages and little things on Friday. Well, but that's a 3-hour block of TV for them.
I'll tell you, World's End, right? That's a Saturday show. They are not running Collision that week at all.
Really? At all?
Mm-hmm. At all. Yeah, it's not on Friday. Yeah, they're not running a Friday Collision. It's going to be no Collision, just World's End from Nassau Coliseum.
Wow.
Saturday.
Huh. What? So, and I can't imagine their broadcast partner is necessarily all that happy with that, the way that it works out, right? Schedule wise.
No. WBD? No, they're fine with it.
They're fine. They're just like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll throw on Attack of the Clones.
Well, I mean, but listen, what does that mean, right? We still have a big question mark here. Why isn't Final Battle on BR Live? And will this be on BR Live? Will World's End be on BR Live?
Mm-hmm.
If you're putting it on, if you're going to do Max, that's an interesting way to do it. But BR Live is dead. It's a dead platform. There's nothing left on it. They're migrating to. So obviously they're going to migrate to Max. I mean, that has to happen. But it's a matter of, do we do it in December? Do we do it in January? Do we do it in February? There's a lot of stuff in the air. I do think it means something that they're not airing Collision. I'm not in a negative way. It doesn't mean like, oh, they're going to get canceled or anything. But it's the week. It could be that it's the holiday week and they wanted to give people off the day before the pay-per-view.
Sure.
Maybe they don't want to compete with SmackDown again. I don't know.
Well, why don't we talk about Full Gear, because that is the show that is this weekend. What are you feeling? Is there enough on this show to where your feeling is, oh, great, another AEW pay-per-view. I'm ready for it. I'm excited for it. It's the right time. Or are you like, it's fine, but, I'm not as excited as I may have been with other shows this year?
This is what's going to happen when you do monthly pay-per-views. You're going to have some that are huge, and you're going to have some that are just fine. I think this show is going to be fine. I think people are going to very much enjoy it. The matches look okay. We'll run down the matches, but I don't see anything fundamentally wrong with this show. Looking at it on paper, I think it could turn out to be a fantastic, fantastic show. Most likely, it will be a fantastic show.
Do you know what? They have a hook that they could use this last week of TV to sell this pay-per-view, because we know that Tony Khan, that's what he likes to do, right? He even mentions on those calls, those pre-show calls, He's like, yeah, I'm trying to promote, brother. That's what I'm here to do. They could say the devil is going to show up on this show.
And who is the devil?
I don't know. Do you have any insight?
No insight. You know what? It could be CM Punk. I hope it is, man. Just to watch the internet explode.
Aggregate that one. Andrew Zarian says CM Punk is the devil.
Oh no. I mean, to a lot of people, yes, he is. To many, yes, he is. It could be Jungle Boy. You know, you could have him do it. It could be. I mean, I think at the end it's going to be Adam Cole. But I don't want it to be Adam Cole. I want it to be something bigger. I don't know what you can do here.
Jungle Boy's not bigger than Adam Cole, though.
No. Neither one. I'm just throwing out names. I think for a world title positioning and the way that they've built this up, I mean, it does make sense it's Adam Cole. That makes total sense.
Tony Khan.
It's Tony Khan. Can you imagine? And he challenges for the title and he beats MJF and he does the Vince McMahon where he wins the title from him. He puts himself over in his own promotion. Typical promoter.
You know who I want it to be?
Who?
I want it to be a McMahon. But I don't want it to be Vince McMahon. I don't want it to be Shane McMahon. I want it to be Stephanie McMahon.
You know what? Oh, my God. You know, that would be the moment. Now we know why Vince cashed out on $800 million worth of stock.
Exactly. Look, if there is one thing that has the intrigue with the fan base right now, it is the devil stuff, right? Now, because from a wrestling perspective, MJF and Jay White, it's going to be a hell of a match. It's going to be more than likely a near 5-star match. But the intrigue in that is Jay White winning the match? I don't think anybody believes Jay White's winning the match, right?
No, and I think they made a big mistake by him holding that title, carrying MJF's title for so long.
Yeah.
I think it was fine for 1 week or 2 weeks, but this has been going on for a while. I think it took a little bit of the allure out of seeing him with a world title. But, I mean, every other match, look at the match. They look great. I mean, these are fine matches. Pre-show, MJF and I don't know who.
To me, the one flaw in this show is the multi-person matches. So let me read this card to you.
Yeah.
So the 0-hour match, MJF and Silhouette versus the Guns. Who do we believe Silhouette is going to be? Smojo?
Joe? Yeah, why not?
So that is a good match. I don't like the idea that MJF wrestles twice, but it is their gimmick and it is their little goofy thing that they're doing. So MJF, my fear though, is that it's a giant comedy match like The Righteous was. For the sake of the Guns, I hope it is not, because I think their act is really strong, especially with the Bang Bang Gang. Those guys are, they are kind of a goofy act, but they are really portrayed as heels, which is great for them.
Dude, I love them. I like that act. Yeah, I'm into it. I very much am. And I don't like the goofy acts a lot of the time. I like more serious acts, but I think those guys are great. I mean, all of them together, they work, somehow.
Sheeta versus Tony Storm. So that's a one-on-one match.
That's a good match.
It's a good match. And there's the Mariah May possibility of her getting involved. I don't know if that adds or subtracts from that. It was awful. RJ City.
I love RJ. I love RJ.
There's nothing wrong. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with him, but he is the pre-show guy, and he just is like, "Hey, you're here. What are your implications for AEW or whatever he said?" I was like, "What? What does that even mean?" And no, he's great in the pre-show role, and he's great in these vignettes with Tony Storm. But when you are presenting a future star, that's not the guy that I would have had in that spot. So, next match: Sting, Darby, Adam Copeland versus Christian, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. We believe that Ric Flair is going to be in their corner. Now that should be another really good match, but it is a multi-person match. It's a 6-man tag. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm all for this match. It's even though if you if you average out the age of some of these fellows, it's a pretty old match. But Darby, Nick Wayne, they'll hopefully they'll be in the ring a lot to kind of give us a lot of good action.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be a fun match. I think people are going to be into this.
Orange Cassidy and Jon Moxley, maybe the most actual like blood build or personal frustration with the other person kind of build on the show, at least seriously. I think this will be really fun. Orange Cassidy he's had a tremendous year. I think he's leveled up his game to the near main event status, and I think this is a good chance for them to have a great match. And maybe we don't do as much of the gimmicky stuff with Orange, and this is a more serious match so that he shows out and that he can go toe to toe with one of the best brawlers in wrestling. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too. I think this will be a solid match.
Hangman against Swerve. Now, you said earlier that you really liked the Hangman promo from Collision.
I did.
I thought it was like an overcorrection because they just missed for like 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
When you're saying that you're going to kill somebody and then you're going to piss on their grave, like that's a promise that you cannot keep. You actually cannot keep that promise in professional wrestling. So I thought it was a little bit of an overcorrection, but we needed to see this Hangman 3 weeks ago. I thought.
I think this match is going to be fantastic.
It should be. They're great. In the ring, these guys are friggin' amazing.
Yeah, and they both work. Listen, Swerve is carving out his piece of that pie right now. I just hope that they continue doing that with him because they do need new, fresh talent to that level. Great worker. He's a great promo. I'm a fan of his, and I like seeing him on TV. I just hope that they continue doing it. But neither one of these guys could afford a loss, and that's part of the issue here, right? There is something on the line. They're both coming up, climbing that ladder. Hangman has taken a step backwards since his world title reign. Everything that happened with CM Punk, it really soured Hangman. I think one guy that had a bad fallout from this was him.
Yes.
It was collateral damage. And then Swerve has been on this incline. Do you want him to lose? Who should take this?
If it my thought process is probably a little different than TK's process. This match, I'm really looking forward to this match, but it's not like he's on the ascent to the world title. Or maybe he is. Maybe he is after this match.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting to me that these guys story of this company, and yet they're not really doing anything. So Tony is paying a large part of his overall salary to these 4 men, and they're not involved in anything gigantic because the Young Bucks storyline here with Jericho and Omega is that they had nothing going on for a pay-per-view that is in their hometown.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
Actually, all 4 of those guys had nothing going on. You're telling me a week and a half before your show, Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks have no plan. There's no plans for them. I do like the heel Bucks more than I like babyface Bucks. I like that they're playing the heel role. I don't know where they go with Kenny and Jericho here. Obviously there's a Don Callis thing. So do they get attacked and now they become a team and this leads to blood and guts somewhere? I don't know.
Are the Bucks joining the Callis family?
Oh my God. I didn't even think of that. No, I was thinking the opposite. But man, dirtbag heat. That's great dirtbag heat.
Yeah.
I like booing the Bucks. I get pleasure out of it. I always have. They don't come off as the most likable. I don't know them personally. I'm saying on TV, right? Even when they're baby faces, they're not arrogant, they're cocky.
They're not great babyface promos as well, which is kind of hard.
They're not great babyface promos. One of the best things I've ever seen was it was an early Being the Elite It was like one of the early ones when they were in Japan, and they had Gallows and Anderson there, right? And Gallows walks in and he goes, "F me, which one's Sean and which one's Marty?" Dying, right? But they, like, even when they were baby faces in Japan, they got booed.
Yeah.
They would constantly get booed because they do have that Shawn Michaels thing where Shawn was, later in his career, like he became older and a little bit more, everybody loved him no matter what he did, but he was a natural heel, that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Even when he was a babyface, 96 when he was a babyface, you still wanted to boo that guy. He came off arrogant and cocky, and I think the Bucks have a little bit of that. Obviously they're a big influence on their career. He's a big influence on their career.
I mean, his gimmick was that of a stripper, so I don't know how.
His gimmick was of a male stripper. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And Brett's talking about him posing in girly magazines.
In girly magazines. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So last few matches here, the Golden Jets, Omega and Jericho versus the Young Bucks. And if the Golden Jets win, they get the Young Bucks Tag Team Championship opportunity. But if the Young Bucks win, the Golden Jets must disband as a team. You have to be paying attention to AEW storylines very closely to even remember that the Young Bucks had a championship opportunity. And you have to put it in your brain that these guys and these women who can just ask for opportunities and they get them the next week, that isn't in this whole long-term storytelling. Like, I don't even know why a championship opportunity is, why do they even care about it? Why is it even of any value when it doesn't matter? You can just walk up and ask for one and you may get it. Like, so that part of the story is very weak to me, but that is just, I think that is just AEW creative thing that I'm probably a little bit more frustrated with.
Well, I think there's a lot of. I just got a message from somebody, and that's listening to this, and they heard the AEW creative conversation, and they're asking me. Yeah, I can't repeat it. What they are. They're going to verify this, but there are creative issues. There's tremendous creative issues, and I think it depends on who's running creative for that angle and for that night.
Yeah.
And that's a big part. And a little bit of the inconsistencies play a part like that,
Sure. For the AEW TBS Championship, you have Chris Statlander versus Julia Hart versus Red Velvet versus Sky Blue. I would just rather see Julia Hart and Chris Statlander one-on-one, and I would rather just have Julia Hart win this title. Just might as well. I think she's the most interesting character on the women's side these days. I really like her work, and not even her work in the ring, just her dedication to the character. And you add Red Velvet, who's barely back and gets a win here and a loss here. What does that mean to be in a title match? And Sky Blue, who's probably lost the most championship opportunities in AEW as far as that's concerned. So I'm not into the sorry, it is Red Velvet or Sky Blue, not both of them. So probably will I'm guessing it's going to be Sky Blue just because she's connected to Julia Hart a little bit.
Well, she's
and
been
to Chris.
Poisoned.
Yeah, she's kind of in the middle. But I'd just rather see the one-on-one, and let's get that belt on Julia Hart. Let's move forward with what she's doing because she's been really good.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame that Chris didn't have the same appeal that she had prior to getting hurt. She was really, something was going on there. People were very into her, and now she came back and she's kind of sidelined. She won the title and she's just sitting there. And listen, she's young, 28 years old from Long Island, solid wrestler. I like her. I like that when she booped you on the nose.
Oh, so you like the alien gimmick?
I love the give me more macabre and aliens. I want more aliens in wrestling.
Maybe AEW should get a show on sci-fi so you could have even more of that stuff. Like
Listen,
ECW originally.
He's an alien. He's not from this planet.
All right. Last two matches here for the AEW tag team titles. Ricky Starks and Big Bill versus Roosh and Dralistico versus FTR versus the Kings of the Black Throne, Malachi Black and Brody King. You know what's funny on Collision? So when Roosh and Dralistico do that thing where do they like fake kick a field goal or something, and then they do the pose where they kind of do like they look out into the yonder and see where they're invisible, whatever they do. So if you didn't know what that thing was, live, all of a sudden they are looking to the 5 sections of this arena with 0 fans, and they're just looking out that way. And I was like, if you did not understand what was going on here, and obviously you do it for the TV, but the live crowd must have been like, who are they
what
looking?
Are they doing?
There's nobody in these seats. Who are they actually looking at?
And that has to be frustrating, right? Because if you're not on that hard camera side, you're staring at. If you are on the hard camera side, you're staring at nothing.
It was nothing,
or the opposite to hard camera.
Yeah,
staring at nothing.
It was just nothing,
and that probably plays a part in the crowd reaction. Yeah, that plays a big part.
So live, when I was watching the Collision show, it looked like Ricky Starks and Big Bill versus Malachi Black and Brody King. Like I couldn't really tell where they were going, but if you were paying attention, this is where they were going all along, because people were yelling at me on Twitter saying like, no, it's a 4-way. And I was like, I don't know if it's a 4-way. I'm just telling you what I saw live in the arena. But then they explained it on Saturday. So, again, I don't know if a 4-way makes this any better. It seems like it's possibly there to get the belts off of Starks and Big Bill, maybe without them having to take a pin. I really don't know. I don't know where they're going.
Who do you
with
put
this,
it on?
But I don't know. Who do you put it on?
You know what? I'm going to go with the Kings of the Black Throne.
You could. Is there going to be any creepy stuff involved?
You could do something where, Roosh and Dralistico cost FTR the title, and Kings of the Black Throne win it, and now you got a program between Ricky and Bill to get their title back against Malachi and Brody, and then you kind of marry Dralistico and Roosh with FTR. I mean, there's a couple of things that you could do here that I'm interested in. I want to see some fresh tag matches.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. I know we got a couple of minutes here, but why is Malachi only in tags? Is
he hurt?
I don't know.
Maybe you don't want to. Maybe it's the one character that they don't want to beat, and if you don't have him being, the guy who's going for the title, then he's got to be beaten. Maybe they just don't want him to be beat.
I don't know, but at least I'd like to see him in something. I mean, the guy has a gnarly entrance. He has a look, Again, the macabre. I'm into this.
He's also kind of been an unhappy soldier at the same time, right?
Yeah. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe that's why. And then MJF and Jay White. Again, it's going to be a fantastic match. I just don't sense that people think that Jay White has much of a chance. So that hurts it a little bit to me. But here's where we get to
considering the pay-per-view. Considering the pay-per-views in Long Island next month.
Oh yeah. Totally. Yeah. And so here's how we get to the Devil, which is I think if you tease that the Devil is going to be unveiled on this pay-per-view, you may get some extra buys, I think.
Okay, so the Devil gets unveiled, right? He gets unveiled, and it's Adam Cole.
Yeah.
You can't run that match yet.
How do we know?
Right? Isn't he banged up? Isn't he still hurt?
I think he is. I mean, they said 2 ankle surgeries and this and that. But maybe he's not injured. Maybe it's been a work the whole time, and he's gonna.
I don't know.
He's gonna start limping, walking
maybe
down.
He's like Aaron Rodgers. He's gonna make his return as sooner than we expected.
Kaiser Soze. He's gonna limp, and then all of a sudden he walks fine. It's a whole fake out. Now, I mean, everyone says that he's injured, so I believe that's the story. I don't want to say that he's not, and then the poor guy's dealing with like crazy ankle stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's as long as it's not Ric Flair under the black scorpion mask, it's all.
Oh my! Imagine it is Ric Flair, and he's like, "I'm coming for your title," and that's the match
with the Ole Anderson voice. Yeah,
With
only
the Ole
Anderson's voice.
Anderson, you know what? I would die. Okay, I would die if they do the black scorpion. They do the
Yeah.
Ole voice, and it's Flair.
Sting.
Sting. And it's Flair under there. I'm good. I'm done. I'm done,
Yeah.
guys. I'm done with wrestling. This was
We don't have to
fun.
watch anymore. That's the nice end of the capper on our wrestling viewing career.
I end my career on a very high note for me and not so high note for AEW.
Yeah, and we'll come back the next week. We just changed the name to We're Not Live Anymore, pals.
We're not live anymore, pal.
All right, last thing. We had like 2 minutes here before we get out.
Yeah.
What do you think about this tournament that they're doing for the World's End pay-per-view?
I love
G1
round robin
style.
tournaments. Love
G1
it.
style.
Love tournaments. But listen, I love tournaments if you got A-class caliber guys in there.
Yes.
And you use it to make something. Treat it like the King of the Ring, where you had guys that were upper mid card, or even on the high end of the card, where you're like, okay, you know what, this is going to be a nutty tournament. You're gonna have Moxie in there. You're gonna have whoever else, Edge in there. You're gonna have Darby in there. You're gonna have Hangman in there. You're gonna have Kenny in there. You're gonna have Danielson in there. Make it mean something.
Yeah.
This is a great, and also this is a nice little. It doesn't matter if you lose. If Moxley is facing off against Kenny Omega in this tournament and he loses one match, it doesn't really affect them in the storyline because it's the tournament and you're having these, mixed matched top tier guys. Now, if you're talking about a tournament that's going to be,
Preston Vance.
Nick Wayne and Preston Vance, and no knock at anybody, right? I don't know. But a guy like Swerve could benefit from this, and he could be deemed like their King of the Ring. I think you could use it for something like that. If Swerve happens to be Chris Jericho, on a fluke win or whatever, however you want to do it, those things kind of are cool, and I want to see it because the whole key to this is what's going to happen next.
Cool.
Are you into it?
I'm into it. I'm a little worried because the injury rate with some of these guys is a little high. And if they're going to go all out in these matches, which I think could be terrific television, there could be some injuries they've had. That's been their bug this whole year, right? It seems like every time they start something happens. They got to change gears. So, but I want to see, like you, I want to see who's actually in this thing before I get too excited. Because if we remember the what was that tournament that they did that actually created the Brochachos when MJF and Adam Cole became the team? And we're thinking like, oh, there's ways that you can do this to make it fun. And then it was goofball stuff. So
yeah, but I wondered, this is a Danielson passion project, I think.
I hope.
So it may be a little different because he's, he likes tournaments and he, for me, if Danielson is in charge of this, I know that I'll enjoy it because I like his booking philosophy and I like his wrestling. I like the same wrestling he likes. So, very interesting. I'm curious.
All right. Well, we'll be back hopefully next week because we'll also be setting up War Games next week because Thanksgiving is next week. What the heck? How did it sneak up on us so quickly?
I know. Year's over.
Yeah. All right. For Andrew, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.